Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Cal, your artificial intelligence host. And with me is Ab Vand, VP for Capture at GDI Consulting. And we're excited to walk you through the Defense Health Agency's OMNIBUS IV Small Business On-Ramp Opportunity. In this session, we'll highlight the structure of the contract, the market segments, the proficiency areas, key proposal requirements, and the scoring system. We'll also share practical strategies to help you prepare a strong compliant submission and position your company competitively. Let's get started. Let me first introduce Ab. Ab has over 30 years of experience in capture and proposal management. He is considered an expert in self-scoring as well as traditional proposal and capture efforts. Ab has extensive experience in winning multi-billion-dollar defense contracts. He has managed over 1,000 successful capture and proposal efforts and is a regular contributor to various online GovCon magazines. He has also held numerous training webinars for various APMP chapters and APEX, previously PTAC, offices throughout the U.S. Before starting, there are a few housekeeping notes I would like to mention. First, this webinar is being recorded and the link to the recording will be sent to you within 24 hours. Second, we will hold a Q&A session at the end. You can send your questions during the webinar by the chat system to the right of your window and Ab will address them at the end. Third, you can download this presentation by clicking on the link under File on the right-hand side panel on your window. We highly recommend you download the slide deck so that you can always refer back to it. So let's see what this webinar covers. We will first have a quick glimpse on GDI Consulting's capabilities. Then, Ab will discuss the general details of the OMNIBUS opportunity and then its scope of work. He will next discuss the proposal structure and go into a deep dive of the scoring system. Next will come a discussion of the source selection system and then Ab will touch on the subject of teaming. He will then share some recommendations on how to win on this opportunity before opening the floor for questions. So, with that, I will now hand over the control to Ab to first give a short glimpse on GDI Consulting's capabilities. Ab, you can take over now.
Hello everyone and thank you, Cal. As Cal mentioned, I highly recommend that you download the slide deck so that you can refer back to it, as I have a lot to cover and might be going a little bit too fast. If you have any problems in downloading the slide deck, just mention your email on the chat system and we'll be sending the slide deck to you after the call, after this webinar. Okay, so let me quickly introduce GDI Consulting and the services we have, and then we can dive into the OMNIBUS opportunity. So here's a little about GDI Consulting and our track record. Over the past 15 years, we've built one of the strongest performance records in the federal consulting space. We hold a 98% win rate on OASIS Plus self-scoring proposals with 97 awards secured for our clients just on that vehicle alone. On DoD opportunities, our clients benefit from an 82% win rate, supported by deep experience in both capture and proposal execution. And on the original OMNIBUS IV, we actually helped three clients, and all of them were awarded. We have worked with more than 650 satisfied customers, including over 86 major firms, several of which are ranked among the top 10 defense contractors in the US. And in 2024 alone, our team supported 289 winning bids, contributing to $19.6 billion worth of awarded contracts for our clients. Simply put, GDI Consulting delivers results and we do it consistently. Now let's take a quick look at the range of business development services GDI Consulting offers. Our proposal development services cover eligibility checks, self-scoring analysis, and full proposal support, whether it's a task order, a standalone bid, an IDIQ, a BPA, or a major GUAC submission. We also provide review services and staff augmentation if your internal team needs extra bandwidth. On the capture management side, we support everything from early stage strategy to complete outsourced capture. That includes dedicated capture management, opportunity sourcing and qualification, and support for major federal vehicles like OSS Plus, GSA Mass, and Seaport. We also offer our proprietary platform, Capture Edge, which streamlines self-scoring, teaming, pricing, and proposal readiness across your pipeline. Beyond capture and proposal development, we provide a range of support services, including price to win, competitive intel, and formal black hat exercises to strengthen your positioning, as well as accounting preparations for DCMA and DCAA audits, and CMMC certification support. And finally, we offer training programs in proposal development and capture management, helping internal teams build long-term capability. So in short, whether you need support on a single bid, search capacity for your team, or a full strategic partner, GDI Consulting offers a complete end-to-end set of BD solutions. Okay. Now that is past, and we can dive into the Omnibus opportunities. So let's start with the general information on this opportunity and go from there. So Omnibus IV represents the fourth major iteration of the Department of Defense's flagship medical research and development contracting vehicle. It brings together a broad ecosystem of scientific, clinical, and technical capabilities in support of military health readiness, resilience, and innovation, as they call it. With a $10 billion ceiling and ordering authority through 2027, the contract gives the government a streamlined mechanism to fund its research, development, clinical investigation, regulatory support, and scientific analysis across the military health system. So when Omnibus IV was initially awarded in 2022, 39 contractors were selected, spanning a diverse mix of scientific and technology organizations. Now, as the program matured, the total roster expanded to 56 contract holders. Now, looking at the original award distribution from the previous solicitation cycle, 16 firms were awarded in the research and development segment, 32 in R&D support services, 14 in regulatory processes, and 19 in translational science support and services. These are the four major areas. I'll go into more details of these. Now, many companies received awards in more than one segment, reflecting both the interdisciplinary nature of military medical research and the government's desire to foster flexible multi-domain performance. Usually that's what they go after. Now, understanding this award history helps frame the competitive landscape for the upcoming on-ramp. And for your information, the government anticipated awarding around 80 contracts, with approximately 20 being small business, but it seems that they have not reached that goal. It's not known how many awards they are going to make on this on-ramp, but those are the numbers I can throw at you. Okay, so this slide summarizes the most current information available regarding the Omnibus IV small business on-ramp. The Defense Health Agency remains the primary acquisition organization, obviously, and the contract vehicle continues to operate as a multi-award IDIQ with a full and open structure, but a dedicated small business pathway for this on-ramp. So the current projections estimate a January 2026 RFP, but we'll have to see, considering the shutdown and everything, the government shutdown, and a July 2026 award. So these dates might shift pending internal government review and acquisition planning cycles, as is usual. Now, NAICS 541-714, Research and Development in Biotechnology, continues to define the scope of the small business eligibility with a 1,000 employee size standard, meaning that you're considered small if you have less than 1,000 employees. So making this opportunity accessible to a comparatively large portion of the biomedical small business community, as most companies have less than 1,000 in terms of the numbers, most companies. Now, while the value for the on-ramp has not been published, Omnibus 4's existing $10 billion ceiling underscores the scale of the military medical R&D investment. Offerors should expect a competitive process emphasizing high technical maturity, a strong past performance, and robust small business participation, and we'll dive into these in the later slides. Okay. Now, the timeline for Omnibus 4 on-ramp begins with the sources sought notice, which the government released on March 10th, 2025. Small businesses were required to submit capability statements by April 10th as part of the government's market research process. At that stage, DHA has not issued at that stage, and actually at currently, DHA has not issued an amendment or update, meaning that the overall procurement schedule continues to follow the projection of January 2026, or it might slide a little bit more. Historically, though, if you go back and look at it, omnibus procurements have followed similar cycles: a wide market research window followed by a lengthy drafting period for the RFP, and then an extensive evaluation timeline due to the complexity and volume of proposal submission. This upcoming cycle is expected to mirror that structure as well. So that's why if they issue the RFP in January, the projected award will be in July 2026. You as the offerers should use this timeline to plan your internal readiness, including teaming, past performance alignments, small business participation commitments, and technical narrative developments. And we'll go into the details of those later. Early preparation is particularly important for a contract vehicle of this scale, obviously, where even small administrative mistakes can result in disqualification. So you need to do multiple rounds of review and compliance checks. As with all pre-RFP phases, this timeline uses both current government publications and patterns observed in previous Omnibus 4 procurement. So I've based it on those as well. Okay, let's now discuss the scope of Omnibus 4 on-ramp opportunity. To understand the breadth of Omnibus 4, it's important to look at the 10 program areas that frame the entire medical research and development mission space. These 10 categories drawn from the previous solicitation cycle. As I said, everything is based, most of the material I'm going to cover in this webinar is based on the previous, the original bid for Omnibus 4. They represent the core scientific domains in which the DHA invests to maintain and advance warfighter health and readiness. These range from infectious disease threats and radiation health effects to the development of emerging biomedical technologies and advanced simulation systems, clinical and rehabilitative medicine support. They support recovery and long-term resilience, while joint battlefield healthcare focuses on the urgent care needs of service members operating in deployed environments. So you can see I've listed all the 10 areas, and you can look at them later on in more detail. Now, while the program areas define what scientific problems Omnibus 4 addresses, the market segments describe how contractors you are going for it position themselves to perform within the contract. So this is perhaps more important. So Omnibus 4 has 4 market segments, each with distinct technical expectations. Research and development represents organizations that conduct scientific discovery and laboratory-based research. Research and development support services refers to programmatic, analytical, and operational support to R&D activities. Regulatory processes is focused on compliance, quality systems, documentation, and navigating the complex federal regulatory framework that governs medical products and studies. And then finally, translational science support and services emphasizes the application of research results, clinical trial support, early stage implementation, and technology transition into operational environments. So these segments, segment boundaries matter because offerers who are going for this opportunity select which segment they wish to compete in. So there are 4 different areas that you can compete in and get awarded. So it works like 4 different contracts. And in fact, you have to submit 4 different proposals if you're going for all 4 of them. Or you can go for 1 or 2 or whatever. Now, historically, each segment has different scoring, qualification thresholds, and past performance expectations. I say historically because, again, we don't have any information about the new on-ramp, but usually on-ramps are very similar to the original bid. So, and as I said, the definitions used here are mostly from the previous solicitation cycle, as new material has not much been released by the government. So, most important point, 4 different areas. You can compete in 1, 2, 3, or all 4 of them. But remember, you have to submit 4 different proposals if you're going for 4 different segment areas. Okay, so from here on, we will dive into the proposal structure and the scoring system, and how you should prepare your proposal and gauge yourself as well at the same time. Here in this, we are outlining the formal proposal components required under Omnibus 4 based on Section L from the previous solicitation cycle, obviously. So historically, Omnibus proposals are among the most structured in the DHA ecosystem, meaning offerers must follow the required volume format without exception. Here, Volume 1 contains administrative documentation such as, the SF forms, reps and certs, small business participation information, that sort of thing. Now, while this volume typically does not carry page limits, accuracy and completeness are obviously critical. Any missing certifications or anything that is required, results in disqualification. So you don't want to make any mistakes here. Volume 2 is the technical core with multiple subfactors that carry strict page limitations. I'll go into the details of these. So you must present clear narratives that demonstrate understanding, capability, processes, and alignment with the market segments selected. Remember the 4 market segments. So here is the technical part. 2-page per proficiency demonstration. We'll go into the details of these. Perhaps I should say that the technical volume is the most important volume for getting on this opportunity. Volume 3 focuses on past performance using the attachment L to standardize L1 actually to standardize project detail across different offers. So essentially it's focusing on past performance, and you can see the limitations, description of the team, 5 pages, and then present and past performance information, 5 pages per reference. Now, volume 4, you must present your small business participation commitment document and subcontracting plan. And finally, volume 5 houses pricing submissions, including labor categories, rate tables, and fully burdened cost assumptions using the official price sheet. So that's volume 5. I will later on explain the weight of each of these, but you should understand that technical is the most important part, and we'll spend a lot of time on that, explaining how that works. Okay, so let's start very quickly going over each of these volumes. I'll talk a little bit about each. So volume 1 serves as the administrative backbone of the proposal and is frequently the first volume reviewed during the volume's compliance screening process. You know, if you've made any mistakes, they'll put you aside. Although it typically has no page limit, it demands precision, organization, and strict adherence to the format outlined in section L and subsequent amendments, obviously. So you want to make sure that you don't make any mistakes. This volume includes all required standard forms, SF forms, reps and search, corporate identity validations, and any additional mandatory documents that will be listed on the final RFP when it comes out. A key component from the previous solicitation is the small business participation commitment, which outlines the percentage of work to be performed by small business entities if you're going to use them, and describes how subs will be incorporated into the delivery of task order requirements. If you intend to use subcontractors or teaming partners, Volume 1 must disclose these relationships clearly, including UEIs, cage codes, role descriptions, that sort of thing. And a lack of transparency here can trigger, compliance issues. So make sure that's complete. So ultimately, Volume 1 is the government's tool for determining whether the bidder meets all baseline qualifications before they go into evaluating the technical content and everything else. So as I said multiple times, make sure you don't make any mistakes here. Nothing complicated, just so Volume 2, or Factor 1 as it's called, is the heart of the technical proposal and represents the government's primary method of assessing whether an offeror possesses the capabilities necessary to perform work under the selected market segment that they're going for. So in the previous OMNIBUS IV solicitation, Factor 1 required bidders to present a detailed technical approach structured around clearly defined subfactors. And I will go into the details of these. I'm just giving you an overview now. So offerers needed to show not only that they understood the scientific and operational challenges within each market segment, but also that they had proven methodologies, tools, and processes to meet these challenges effectively. This included laboratory practices, research methodologies, data management systems, scientific rigor, innovation pathways, and alignment with the DHA's mission for medical readiness and health outcomes. The technical approach must also reflect understanding of the 10 program areas that we discussed earlier, demonstrating exactly how the offeror's technical team, facilities, and technologies support the execution of studies, research, and regulatory processes. Page limits were tight in the previous bid, requiring highly disciplined writing to present compelling evidence without exceeding space constraints. Remember, we had 2 pages per area that we could write towards for each case. So a well-written Factor 1 section is critical, as historically this has been the most heavily weighted technical evaluation component under OMNIBUS IV and the previous ones. I will discuss the scoring system used herein in the later slides. Now, Volume 3, or Factor 2 as it's called, is one of the most critical components of the OMNIBUS IV proposal because It allows the government to validate whether you as an offeror have successfully performed work of comparable scope, complexity, and relevance. In the previous solicitation, DHA required all bidders to submit past performance using the formal attachment L1 form that they used at that time. It's a template that standardizes the information provided by each firm, enabling evaluators to compare the technical relevance and quality of experience across different competitors. So each project must clearly map to the market segment you've selected. For example, if a firm intends to compete in the military infectious disease research segment, the associated past performance must demonstrate meaningful scientific, laboratory, clinical research, or medical readiness activities that directly support that domain. The evaluators look for detailed explanations of the work performed, contract magnitude, scientific methodologies used, and how challenges were managed. So you need to cover all of these. CPARs or PPQs must accompany each project when available, as they provide independent validation of performance quality, obviously. If subcontractor experience is being used, then the proposal must clearly describe that role and how it contributes to the overall corporate capability. Now, DHA places great importance on credibility and relevance. So past performance that is incomplete, insufficiently aligned, or poorly documented historically has resulted in reduced scores or rejection. So this volume must be comprehensive, accurate, and compelling. Now, volume 4 focuses on your small business participation plan, which is a critical component for demonstrating your commitment to supporting DHA's small business utilization objectives. In this volume, you will need to clearly explain how you approach small business partners into the performance of the contract. This includes identifying what percentage of work will be allocated to small business subcontractors, how these percentages align with DHA's expectations, and how each type of small business, like SDVOSBs, WOSBs, HUBZones, that sort of thing, will meaningfully contribute to the statement of objectives. So you have to cover that. So your plan should also show how these subcontractors will participate directly in performance, not just in passive, in passive way, or administrative role. Directly in performance. Be sure to outline your approach to selecting, managing, and monitoring your small business partners, along with the reporting methods you'll use to track progress towards participation goals. In the previous solicitation cycle, attachment S1 provided a calculation template for the percentages. While the upcoming on-ramp may refine the structure, the core expectations, I think, will remain the same. DHA wants to see a realistic performance-based plan demonstrating how your team will meet or exceed small business objectives that they have. So a strong Volume 4 reinforces your credibility as a responsible prime contractor and strengthens your overall proposal. And finally, Volume 5 encompasses all pricing information required for OMNIBUS IV competition and must be submitted exactly as directed in the RFP's price sheet template. The template typically defines the required labor categories along with instructions on how to provide fully burdened labor rates. Since the government is comparing pricing across offers, consistency and accuracy are essential, but they're looking for reasonableness, essentially. Offers must ensure their labor rates align with their accounting practices, indirect rate structures, if they have, and market expectations. The previous solicitation required all subcontractor rates to be fully disclosed and integrated into the prime contractor's pricing model, and probably this upcoming one, the on-ramp, will require the same. So any discrepancies between narrative descriptions, rate tables, and subcontractor assumptions were flagged at that time by evaluators. You don't want to make those mistakes now. Historically, Omnibus IV price volumes were assessed for reasonableness and realism rather than scored competitively. However, unrealistic pricing, whether too low or too high, they triggered evaluation risks. Proposed rates must reflect both cost competitiveness and ability to attract qualified scientific and technical talent. Okay, so this volume is your opportunity to demonstrate financial credibility and operational readiness. Let's now dive into the scoring system that falls into volume 2 technical. That's factor 1. I wanted to go into the details of that. So this slide provides an overview of the total potential points available in each market segment based on the self-scoring worksheets from the previous Omnibus IV solicitation. So each market segment has its own scoring tab. You can see, for example, that R&D maximum is 96, R&D support services 192, regulatory processes 144, and translational science support services 144. So these are the maximum score you can get. So for example, the R&D segment had one of the most comprehensive and technically demanding scoring structure, reflecting DHA's emphasis on specialized research capabilities, laboratory credentials, and scientific staffing. The R&D support services segment offered its own distinct set of points focused on support functions, data analysis, operational readiness, and technical assistance. The regulatory processes segment concentrated on experience in compliance, documentation, scientific oversight, and regulatory affairs. Now, you can see that each of these are the scores. For example, the 96 is divided into 3 areas: Part A, Part B, Part C. They're equal, so you can get 32 points under, that's the maximum score you can get under Part A, 32 more under Part B, and 32 more under Part C. So what are these? I'm going to go into the details of these Part A, B, and C in the next slide, so you can understand how that 96 points for R&D or 192 for R&D-SS are actually built, and where your strengths fall, where your weaknesses fall, where are your gaps, perhaps bring in a team member, and so on and so forth. But essentially I'll go into details of these parts. But Part A is core competency of your company. Part B is the requirements for that core competency, the certifications, the laboratory you have, laboratories you have, certifications you have, things like that. And then Part C is your company's experience and personal qualifications. I will go into details of those in the next slide. So these are the scores, the maximum scores you get. The higher the score you get, the more chance you are actually awarded. So you want to maximize your score under each of these market segments that you're going for. So let's start with Part A. These are called proficiency demonstration. So proficiency demonstration Part A, Part B, and Part C. Remember that you got 1/3 of your score comes from one of these parts, as they call them. So Part A of the proficiency demonstration is designed to help the government understand exactly what differentiates your organization from competitors in the scientific and technical landscapes of Omnibus IV. So in this section, the offeror must clearly identify its core competencies, those unique capabilities, methods, scientific strengths, specialized infrastructure, or operational attributes that are directly relevant to Omnibus IV statement of objectives or SU, and directly related to that particular segment that they're going for. Now, these competencies must be mapped to one of the more specific proficiency areas as numbered in the official self-scoring worksheet, and I'll show you what they are. This ensures that DHA evaluators can see your scientific qualifications correspond to the structural technical categories used in OMNIBUS IV. Equally important is demonstrating how these core competencies add value to the program areas listed in the SU, those 10 areas, if you remember. For example, a contract research organization with a scientific portfolio in regulatory pathways or infectious disease research may reference proficiency area 16 or the infectious disease. I'll show you what area 16 is, or the infectious disease program area to show alignment. This helps the government understand not only what you do, but also where your expertise fits into the broader Omnibus framework. So the goal of part A is straightforward. Show that your organization has domain-specific strengths. Explain where those strengths fit within the Omnibus structure and highlight exactly how they support mission execution. So that is part A. Remember, 1/3 of your score for each of those categories falls under part A. Now, part B shifts from describing what your organization can do to explaining what is required to successfully deliver the core competencies you outline in part A. So this section evaluates your understanding of the technical, scientific, regulatory, and operational prerequisites needed to perform specialized work under Omnibus IV. The government expects a detailed description of the eligibility criteria necessary for executing the competencies you identified. This includes required certifications, for example, specialized laboratory environments, clinical facilities, biosafety capabilities, IT systems, quality assurance frameworks, and any infrastructure that is mandatory for performance. It also includes identifying the type of subject matter expertise required, SMEs, such as epidemiologists, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, regulatory affairs specialists, molecular biologists, or clinical research staff, depending on the nature of the work. Now, importantly, this section is not about presenting resumes or describing your company's past experience. Remember, we'll cover that. That's part C. Instead, it is about demonstrating a deep understanding of what it takes industry-wide to deliver the required services. For example, if your core competency involves, say, infectious disease research, you would articulate the need for a federal assurance, a BSL-4 laboratory, and personnel with training in epidemiology and phlebotomy, if I'm correct, pronouncing it correctly. Now, part B is the offer's opportunity to show the evaluators that they have a mature and realistic understanding of the operational requirements behind the work, not just the capability to perform it. That's the difference between part A and part B. Now, part C is where the offeror demonstrates evidence that they actually possess the capabilities described in part A and part B. So the government is looking for real, concrete examples, meaning contracts, of company experience and personnel qualifications that directly align with the requirements you previously outlined in part A and part B. For the organizational experience portion, focus on what the company has done, not necessarily how well it was evaluated, but what you did. The key is that the experience must be identical, similar to or related to the technical and scientific requirements described in part B and part of part A also. So if your part B identified the need for clinical trial capabilities, then your part C should show real projects where your organization conducted, supported, and managed clinical trial operations. So here you actually cite contracts that you actually perform those. Next, you must identify the name, by name actually, the personnel who meet the eligibility criteria associated with your core competencies. These individuals are your subject matter experts, the SMEs. Now, you don't need to provide full resumes. Instead of full resumes, provide summarized extracts showing their most relevant training, education, certifications, and project experience, but you don't have to provide full resumes. If a proposal SME is not currently an employee, include a signed letter of intent. Finally, Part C must demonstrate that your organization has current real-world capability to support OMNIBUS IV requirements. This includes having the right balance of technical staff, scientific expertise, and operational infrastructure, and proven experience. So together, Part A, B, and C create a cohesive demonstration showing that the offeror understands the work, knows what it takes to execute it, and then possesses the capabilities to deliver. That's why they've divided the scoring into 3 parts, A, B, and C, essentially equal. Now, based on that, let's go back to those 4 market segments and see how these part A, B, and C play into the scoring. So you can see that, for example, and then the proficiency areas. Let's take a look at R&D. These proficiency areas typically include infectious disease research, molecular biology, genomics, laboratory experimentation, chemical biological defense research, clinical research methodologies, toxicology, and other high-impact scientific fields. Offerors must show clear, demonstrable proficiency in the exact scientific domains they are claiming. The self-scoring worksheet requires offerors to map their capabilities directly to these proficiency areas, and the evaluators assess how deeply these capabilities are embedded in the organization. So the strongest offerors show that their research labs, scientific staff, methodologies, and previous projects align with the specific proficiency areas that they have selected, not just general scientific experience. So you don't write the part A, B, and C, the core competency, requirements for core competency, and company experience is not about research and development as a general idea. It's divided into these areas under proficiency areas that you see: collaboration, DoD medical research, transitioning of program through funding continuum, and so on and so forth. So you can see that is how this is structured. So because each proficiency area corresponds to different types of research activities, offerors who can demonstrate well-documented, high complexity proficiency earn significantly higher scores. And these are, that you can see, are the maximum, 8. If you're not strong, you get less, 7, 6, all the way to 0 if you don't have any experience or you haven't done work there. So this is why a strong part A and part C in the proficiency demonstration is critical for any R&D segment submission. Okay, let's look at the second market segment, R&D support services. The proficiency areas here emphasize the technical and operational functions that enable research programs to run effectively. These areas are different from laboratory research. Instead, they focus on the structure, data systems, logistics, and scientific support functions essential to DHA research programs. So proficiency areas in this segment often include research program analysis, scientific data management, bioinformatic support, research logistics, field data collection, quality assurance support, documentation systems, and technical coordination functions. The government evaluators look for the offerer's demonstrated capabilities in these exact operational areas, skills that are foundational for supporting scientific teams and large research portfolios. Now, the scoring is driven by how well an offerer can show operational proficiency in the activities defined under the proficiency areas. So again, here you get 8 points for each under Part A, Part B, and Part C. Okay, let's move on. In their market segment 3, the regulatory process market segment, the proficiency areas focus on highly specialized regulatory functions that ensure compliance, documentation accuracy, and scientific governance across DHA research and medical programs. Now, these proficiency areas reflect roles essential to research oversight and regulatory alignment. Typical proficiency areas include, as you can see, animal use programs and Vivaria, or Vivaria, however you spell it, you pronounce it. Research involving human subjects, DoD use of investigational products, Title 21, that's Food and Drug Administration, federal and DoD privacy and technology transfer. So these are the proficiency areas, and again, you get 8 points per Part A, Part B, Part C, for a total of 24, a maximum of 144 points for regulatory processes. And finally, market segment 4, translational science support and services, or TSS&S. The proficiency areas here are pre-transition support, transition support, evidence-based solution development, dissemination strategies, processes, and evidence-based practices, implementation strategies, processes, and evidence-based practices, and finally, evaluation strategies, plans, and execution. And again, here you get 8 points per Part A, Part B, Part C, for a total of 24 per proficiency area and maximum 144 points for the overall market segment point score. So these were how the scoring system work for these 4 different market segments. Okay, so that was the scoring system. Let's discuss how the government does the source selection process now. Under the previous Omnibus IV competition, DHA used a best value trade-off evaluation methodology where technical capability and past performance were more important than price. And they will probably use the same system. Now, it is a sort of a self-scoring. It's a hybrid system. So it's not fully self-scoring. It's a hybrid system, and we'll see why. So this framework recognizes the scientific and mission-critical nature of the work, meaning the government prioritizes demonstrated expertise, operational rigor, and the ability to deliver reliable research outcomes. So factors 1 and 2, that's technical volume and past performance, are the primary drivers of award decision, with technical volume being the main one. That's factor 1. So factor 1 assesses how well the offerer understands the scientific and operational requirements of selected market segments, while factor 2 evaluates the robustness of their past performance, how well they've performed their projects. Obviously, projects with higher complexity, scientific rigor, and successful customer outcomes carry more weight under factor 2. Okay, so now price played a supporting role in the previous submission, and the same thing here. I doubt very much that they're going to change the system. So we will probably be seeing the same process in the on-ramp. It was evaluated for reasonableness and consistency, but low price did not guarantee competitive advantage, nor did higher price disqualify an offeror. You just have to be reasonable. The decisive factor was whether the offeror demonstrated superior capability, credibility, and readiness to support DHA's long-range term research and development objectives, with factor 1, technical volume, being the most important one. This evaluation structure highlights why preparing a deeply compliant and compelling technical volume is really important. So you really need to focus there and shine there. Even though, as I mentioned, this is a hybrid system, it's called a hybrid self-scoring. The reason is that in traditional self-scoring, I shouldn't say traditional, it gets mixed up. In self-scoring proposals like OASIS, everything stands on score. So there's no subjectivity involved. But here it's hybrid, meaning that at the end of the day, they're going to evaluate your score, and it's the most important part. But again, other factors play into it, and there is subjective thinking, subjective evaluation, subjective selection. So it's not fully, self-scoring. That's why I said this is a hybrid system. Okay, let's move forward. Okay. So in this slide, we focus on how the government evaluates offers across the various market segments by reviewing the selection criteria applied to each proposal volume. I wanted you to understand fully. So evaluation begins with volume 1, which establishes the offer's administrative compliance and foundational eligibility, essentially. So any errors in this volume, you don't want to have that, such as missing certifications or incorrect documentation. They can eliminate you before the government is even going to evaluate the rest. So you don't want to make any mistakes there. Now, volume 2 or factor 1 contains the technical approach and is the core of the evaluation. Here, evaluators look for alignment between the offeror's narrative and the precise proficiency areas we covered within the market segment that you're bidding towards. So they want to make sure that because this part is self-scoring, you score yourself. Maybe you score yourself as 8. You give yourself 8. They want to make sure that your write-up actually justifies getting an 8. If not, they will actually cross that out and give you a lower score. If they realize that there is no relevance at all, they will give you a 0. Make sure that you don't go overboard on your explanations. The government will assess whether you clearly understand the scientific or operational domain that you're going for, whether your methodologies are appropriate for that segment, and whether your expertise aligns with the expectations outlined in the SUE. So these are all the things that the government is going to look for. It's, again, as I said, score dependent, but it's subjective. In volume 3, the evaluation moves to past performance. The government examines whether the offer has relevant, comparable experience tied directly to the proficiency areas selected. Now, relevance is key. Evaluators look for evidence that you have performed work similar in complexity, in scope, in technical nature to what the market segment you're going for requires. So strong, well-documented past performance significantly strengthens a segment evaluation outcome. It's again a subjective assessment by the government, and it's perhaps the second most important. Factor 1 is the most important. After that comes past performance. Now, volume 4 is the small business participation plan. Though it's not technically scored, it is evaluated for acceptability and compliance. So you want to make sure that you get an acceptable one in place. The government assesses whether the plan meets participation thresholds that they have given, including meaningful subcontracting commitments. They must be there, and that it aligns with the overall intent of DHA's small business objectives. So a deficient small business participation plan can actually render the proposal unacceptable. You don't want to be there. Make sure that you have, even though you might have the best technical and even past performance volumes, if you fail there in factor 3, your proposal will be totally disqualified. And then volume 5, the price volume is evaluated for reasonableness and consistency, as we mentioned, with the technical approach. Price is not a determining factor in segment scoring. So there's no score to it, anything like that. It's acceptable at the end of the day and unacceptable based on being reasonable. So if it's reasonable, you're good to go. But you want to make sure that you have accuracy, completeness, and internal consistency. These are critical. So across all volumes, Omnibus 4 maintains a segment-specific evaluation model, as they call it. So this means an offeror may qualify strongly for one market segment and not qualify for another segment, depending on how well their volumes collectively support the required proficiency areas. This segmented approach ensures that awards are made only where offers demonstrate true capability aligned with what DHA wants to see. Okay, that was the source selection process. A touch on teaming. So teaming played an important strategic role in the previous Omnibus 4 competition, especially for small businesses seeking to strengthen their technical breadth and past performance positioning. DHA permitted teaming arrangement, but they emphasized that the prime contractor must maintain clear leadership, clear control, and clear oversight of all proposed work. Now, subcontractors could supplement capabilities, but they could not replace the prime's core qualifications. So, that's important to understand. You cannot, submit everything from your subcontractors. That means you're negating this, what I just mentioned. The subcontractor's capabilities cannot replace the prime's core qualifications. So they're going to look for your core qualifications, but you can bring in primes and and supplement your capabilities, find those holes, and get more score there. Small business participation requirements were defined using attachment S1 in the previous one. There's a calculation template there. This document ensures firms accurately reported subcontracting percentages and participation plans and that sort of thing. Now, subcontractor past performance could be included to enhance a segment's narrative and get obviously a higher score, but only when it is clearly tied to the subcontractor's proposed role. So, I mean, the subcontractor must be present in your team, and then you can use it. And evaluators typically looked for consistency between the subcontractor's experience and the responsibilities they would perform under Omnibus 4. Meaning that, if you're using one of their past performance to get a score, but they're not present in your team, or in your team their role is to do something else, that is not a good sign for the evaluators. The prime's management structure had to show strong oversight capabilities, communication systems, and quality controls. So these are important for the evaluators. Teaming could strengthen a proposal, but it's not properly if it's not properly aligned. it could actually raise concerns. So make sure if you're bringing partners, subs, you take full control of how they're going to be used, and that it is aligned with how you're using their past performance and past experience in your scoring. All teaming guidance here is based on the previous cycle, obviously. You should reevaluate it once the new RFP comes out, but I doubt that there will be much difference, because as usual, when there's an on-ramp, the government usually doesn't change much of the requirements. Okay, so let's discuss some win strategies very quickly. So to be competitive under OMNIBUS IV opportunity, an offeror must focus on strategic alignment across all volumes and ensure that their competencies match the exact proficiency areas which we covered, defined within each market segment. So this matchmaking is really important. The first step is selecting only those segments where the company has genuine strength. Trying to over-select segments without proven proficiency dilutes the proposal and essentially lowers scoring potential. You don't want to do that. Instead, concentrate on market segments where you can demonstrate deep technical capability, backed by specialized infrastructure, knowledgeable staff, and relevant past performance. A strong proposal requires tightly integrated proficiency demonstration. That's really important. So part A must clearly articulate discriminating competencies. You want to make sure that you really articulate those key competencies that you have. Part B must show the eligibility criteria required to deliver those competencies, and Part C must directly demonstrate experience and SME credentials that match those needs. When these pieces align, then the evaluators can easily see your credibility. So that's why you don't want to have a way that you're good at part of Part A, you're good at part of Part B, and you're good at part of Part C, which are not correlative. Even if in those proficiency areas under one of those segments, you're not good at one of those proficiency areas, that's fine. But the proficiency areas you pick, you want to make sure that you're good at all of the Part A, Part B, Part C areas there. That gives the evaluators the credibility for your company in that particular proficiency area, because they see that Part A, Part B, Part C, you're getting high marks there. So it's really important to correlate these together properly. Now, past performance is a decisive element. The experience must not only be similar in scope, but must specifically match the proficiency areas being claimed. So again, when you pick those past performance contracts, make sure that you pick the correct ones. The strongest submissions present clear, detailed, and segment-aligned examples, contracts that mirror omnibus expectations. Where gaps exist, obviously you might not be able to cover everything. That's where strategic teaming can help ensure coverage of missing proficiency areas or technical domains. However, partners should only be added when they meaningfully enhance segment capability. So say you're going for one of the proficiency areas, you're good at Part A, you're not good at Part B, and you're good or partially good at Part C. So you bring in a partner, and that partner fills the gap for Part B and fills the gap of the partial Part C. That's much better than bringing in a partner who is, good at another proficiency area, Part A. That's not the good strategy. You want to be good at Part A, Part B, Part C of one proficiency area. If you have a hole, if you have a gap, bring in a partner for that particular proficiency area, and build that way up to get the highest score. Because unlike, as I said, unlike fully self-scoring RFPs like OASIS Plus, where the score at the end of the day counts, that's not the case here. Even though, let's take a case of two companies. One company might be very good at 2 out of, say, 6 proficiency areas. They're very good at part A, part B, part C. They get 24 points for one and 24 points for the other. That's 48 points. Another company is good across all 6 proficiency areas, but not under each part. So they're good at part A for one, at part C for another, part B for another, that sort of thing. At the end of the day, their score might be 68. So one company has 48, one company has 68. If it were OASIS Plus, the government would automatically pick the one with 68. That's not the case here. Here, DHA is going to will probably go for the company with 48 points, because they can see that it's a company that has part A, part B, part C covered under 2 distinct proficiency areas. That's better. That's why I say it's really important to go for, consistent part A, part B, part C, coverage of different proficiency areas. That's where teaming also should concentrate. Additionally, a compliant small business participation plan is mandatory, even though it's not scored. An unacceptable plan can disqualify you. So make sure that you spend enough time on your SP participation plan to make it acceptable. Don't underestimate its importance. And then finally, realistic, conservative self-scoring is really essential. At the end of the day, those points really count. So offerers should only take points that they can defend through tangible evidence and strong alignment across technical narratives, past performance, and personnel qualifications. You don't want to claim something that you can't prove. Successful competitors approach Omnibus IV as a structured, evidence-driven opportunity where alignment, clarity, and credibility determine award outcomes. So these are important. Alignment, clarity, and credibility. Stick to those. Alignment, clarity, credibility. Okay, very quickly, those were my recommendations. Very quickly, some of the services we provide for Omnibus IV on-ramp opportunity. So we can provide free consultation where we review your company's background, capabilities, teaming structure, and overall competitiveness for this program. From there, we provide a pre-qualification assessment to determine eligibility, scoring potential, and any gaps that need to be addressed early in the process. Our full capture service covers opportunity tracking, teaming support, strategy development, discriminators, and positioning for maximum scoring. Capturing still is in place because even though they've said it's going to come out in January, we doubt it. It's probably a slip. So we have room for capture services. For full proposal development, a dedicated proposal team, including a proposal manager, writers, compliance specialists, reviewers, subject matter experts, all of them are assigned. We handle cradle to grave proposal preparation from compliance matrices and storyboarding all the way to final submission and amendments. We also conduct full and multiple rounds of reviews and compliance checks to make sure your submission is complete, compliant, and competitive, and your score is maximized. If you already have an in-house team, We can provide reviewing and auditing support, acting as a second set of eyes for compliance and score optimization and maximization, and ensuring that you have a winning proposal. This includes 2 structured rounds of reviews along with review reports and debrief meetings, so your team knows exactly what to improve before submission. So in short, whether you need to, an end-to-end proposal development or support for your internal teams, GDI delivers a complete, proven process for the DHA Omnibus IV opportunity. Now, in case you want to contact us for technical or sales inquiries, here are my contact info as well as my colleague Maroon Freedy. Please contact him if you want to set up a call or get information about our services. Email me if you have any technical questions, and I'll be glad to answer you. So now let's answer some of the questions in the remaining time. Actually, we are over the time limit, but let me answer some questions very quickly. So question from Mike, will the government reconsider suggested changes to some of the requirements? You can propose, but I doubt it very much, as this is an on-ramp, and usually in on-ramps they don't change requirements or they'll face a huge number of protests. Question from Steve, can subcontractor experience be used for corporate experience requirements? So yes, experience refers to what the offeror has done as an entity. Subcontractor experience may be acceptable if part of an integrated team solution. So if they're officially part of your team, that's acceptable. Question from Chris, how closely does experience need to match a proficiency area? So experience must be identical to or similar or related to the services in part B of the proficiency demonstration. So it has to be relevant. Question from Michael, do we need to provide resumes for all the SMEs? No. So only relevant extracts summarizing things like training, education, certifications, those are required. Full resumes are not needed. Question from Sarah. What personnel requirements apply for specialized research areas? Eligibility criteria are determined by what is necessary to deliver the core competencies described in Part A. So they have provided examples in the previous RFP. They will probably provide in the new RFP as well. If you want, you can contact me and I can send you the previous RFP so you can see some examples on that. Question from Lisa. Can we use SMEs who are not current employees? Is that acceptable? So yes, but a signed letter of intent must be included. So you can use people who are not your current employees, but will be employed if you're awarded, but you have to provide a letter of intent. Question from Murphy. Is proficiency demonstration meant to show capability or only understanding? So essentially, as we discussed, Part A demonstrates core competencies. Part B describes your understanding of them, and then Part C demonstrates previous experience. So part of it is understanding, which is part of Part B, but in more details, as I explained. Question from Ed. You didn't discuss joint ventures or mentor-protege companies and if they qualify. So the team structures must meet organizational requirements and must demonstrate capabilities that are required. So yes, JVs of all types can actually participate. As I said, we had 3 wins on the previous bid, and one of our 3 was actually a JV. So yes, JVs can participate, whether it's a mentor-protege JV or the standalone JV. Question from John. Must specialized labs be owned by the offeror, like BSL-4? No. You must demonstrate access to required facilities. Now, this could be either through ownership or through subcontractor teaming arrangements. So if you have a subcontractor teaming with the lab, yes, that's acceptable too. question from Alice. Must SME certifications be current? Yes. So you can't use a SME who did have a qualification, but it's no longer valid. The qualifications must be relevant and valid. Qualifications and certifications. Question from Amanda. Do we need to have a secret or top secret facility clearance to participate? No. You will need secret or top secret FCL for those task orders that require them, but not for getting on the, the IDIQ, the mother opportunity, the bid. Last, I have more questions. Another question from Amanda. Do we need to have an approved accounting system to participate? Again, no, Amanda. You will need an approved accounting system, again, if the task order you will be competing for, once you're awarded the contract, is of the time and material or similar type work. So if it's not an FFP, firm fixed price type, then yes, you would need an approved accounting system to participate or bid for that particular task order, but not here. Last question. Question from Jim. If we want to go after multiple market segments, do we have to include all in one proposal? No. So if you're going for multiple market segments, you need to prepare and submit separate proposals for each. Separate proposals for each. Okay, everyone, we have run out of time, way out of time. So I want to thank everyone for participating in our webinar. And as I said, if you have any questions, just email me. I can get back to you. Thank you, everyone, for participating, and have a wonderful day. And we look forward to seeing you in our future webinars.